came to my mind was, do you see any kind of different regional challenges on maybe not implementing, but starting to think about universal basic income across different regions? Or is it more or less the same kind of challenges that you said at the beginning? Say like the pilot sites that are going to be set up in the States, or were there any kind of specific unique challenges there compared to, say, places in South America that you're aware of?
Well, of course, I mean, if you compare the global north with the global south, then the most important challenge is how do you reach the people in the remote rural areas in the global south, right? I mean, in our countries, well, almost everyone has a smartphone and a bank account and a social service number. But in the global south, that is something completely different. And that is really, really, really a big challenge. How do you reach every single human being?
Yeah.
I think that is that. And you know, and apart from that, I mean, in the end, it is the political will. I mean, it's really strange if you know what the effects of basic income is going to be. It's really strange that it's not there yet. Yeah. So there is something about, you know, the political will to actually implement it. And so we're really happy that that we're going to work with UNDP now, because they have more entrances into the national governments with their local offices. And yeah, and as I said, there are more and more local initiatives now, because mayors, for example, they see what's happening in their towns, right?
Right.
So they implement it in for example, in Stockton, they started with the areas, the districts where there was the highest crime rates and poverty levels, and because they knew that most of the crimes are poverty related. Yeah. So yeah.
Right.
And one of the things that is actually also quite interesting to mention is that if what we see, if you give it on a community level, so not only the long-term unemployed, but if you really give it to a whole village, then automatically this village starts to organize meetings where they discuss where shall we invest our money that will benefit the community as a whole.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah,
that is very interesting, and we even see some communities or groups of people within the community that trust each other, and they decide to give every month one single person in the group a little bit of extra, so that they can make a bigger investment, and then the next month someone else is turned. You know, so
interesting.
That's really interesting that people organize that themselves, and that really shows that, you know, people really want to make this world a better place.
Yeah.
You only have to give them the resources themselves, give them the tools, and they will do it.
Yeah. I couldn't agree further. I think one of the things that also comes up in the discussion is, and maybe this is a little bit more connected to the podcast, the themes of the podcast and automation itself, right? So like, as time goes on and as we have, you know, the robotic systems and the AI systems built up and implemented everywhere, have you discussed, or people in your organization, have you discussed something like the robo-tax that was a little bit kind of a popular trend a couple of years ago? Is that something that has been discussed as a possible solution or way of paying for part of, or if not the entire universal basic income price tag?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, those kind of options to pay for basic income are heavily discussed in, for example, the Basic Income Conference. You know, robot tax, eco tax, whatever else, other kinds of taxes. These are the things that are discussed. You know, but also a dividend scheme. You know, like the Alaska Permanent Fund dividend. So these are the topics that are discussed intensely during this 3 or 4 day BN conference that we have every year.
Okay. Is there any one that's kind of doing better in terms of being accepted by all, or is it kind of just a mix between whichever solution fits better to the national priorities?
Yeah, well, in the end, it is the politicians that will have to decide, what they want to implement. No, I cannot really give an answer to that, because I mean, we are not the ones. The basic income movement itself is not, are not the ones that can actually will decide. The only thing we can do is to give them different options. You can do it like this, you can do it like that, you can implement a robot tax, a wealth tax. So all these options are discussed and put on the table. But in the end, it's the governments and the people that will have to decide. But it is not a matter of money. If you see how much money has been printed in the last year, I think it's about 20% of the dollar that is circulating now was printed last year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Money is not an issue.
Yeah.